Well, yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, Raj, because in movies where you have a digital speedometer, typically you're like looking at like 100, 120 miles per hour, and it's like 17 knots. Like, everybody get excited. We're going 17 knots.
Remember when we first met John McClane? Argyle picked him up from the plane and took him down the Nakatomi Tower at the Christmas party. And the terrorists were overzealous, but it was sweet when they killed Ellis. And with a little help from Alan, John McClane...
Welcome back to Shat The Movies, the podcast where we answer the question, were the movies we loved when growing up really that good? Have you ever caught yourself thinking, why don't they make movies like they used to? Can you still remember spending your Friday nights searching for the perfect movie rental at Blockbuster Video? Do you even remember what Blockbuster Video was? Have you answered yes, and this is the podcast for you? I'm one of your three hosts, Roger Roper, and alongside me are my two co-hosts, Big D, Dick Ebert.
Good evening.
And Gene Jason Patrick Lyons.
4256-589J.
And each week we take a look back in time and decide if our favorite films still hold up. Each week the audience selects from a selection of movie choices that we then break out a race car VHS tape rewinder and watch the movie that tallied the highest number of votes. At the end of each podcast, the three of us will provide you, the audience, with the number of wipes each movie would take to get off your respective butts. So thank you so much for listening. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and share with a friend. We're everywhere fine podcasts can be found, including iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever fine podcasts can be found. And don't forget to check out our sister podcast, Shat on TV, where we review television series such as Game of Thrones, American Gods, Taboo, and Westworld. Westworld coming back around soon, guys. People have been asking us what's going to happen to Shat the Movies once we get into Westworld season.
Well, I think we're going to try to at least record a few and then space them out over the break, and then primarily release some best of, but we'll try to create some to at least maybe do every couple weeks.
Yeah, Gene and I were talking about the grind that is Westworld, and I don't think we have enough time to do 4 podcasts a week.
Oh, no. Fuck no. But now, maybe if we could do a couple this week, couple next, at least then it won't be 10 weeks without a movie. It might be one every 3 weeks. Something like that.
I guess what I'm asking is, what's our price point for people to, what's it going to take for people to keep doing? No, listen,
Zero.
Gillian, our friend Gillian, said that she would pay us $500 to watch From Justin to Kelly. I think that's a fair price point.
No, she didn't.
She said $500. It's on Twitter. We've got it written down. That being said, Big D, what movie are we doing tonight?
This was a category which was, we did bad sequels, and I think Predator 2 was what won, and it was a good podcast, and it was a lot of fun, so we decided to put up the sequel to that, which was Bad Sequels Part 2. In last place was Caddyshack 2, Superman Part 4, The Quest for Peace, Highlander 2, The Quickening, Jaws, The Revenge, Weekend at Bernie's, and the winner, with over 25% of the vote, was Speed 2, Cruise Control.
This movie makes me never want to look at boats again.
In watching this movie, I kept thinking back on Jaws: The Revenge, Highlander 2, The Quickening, and Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, and even to a degree, Caddyshack 2, which is in some circles regarded as the worst sequel of all time. And just thinking, I'd rather be watching any of those.
Dude, this was a 3 on Rotten Tomatoes. There's never been a movie we've done that has been single digits.
I'm trying to think of. I can't think of anything that's worse than this. I've purposefully avoided this movie my entire life. I thought that I could make it. I got pretty far, almost 38 years without watching this movie. And today that ended.
I mean, you know, this movie came out when you were like 18, right?
Yeah, well, I was 17 when this movie came out, but it feels longer. I didn't even know that they made a Weekend at Bernie's 2, and I still would watch that over Speed 2 Crew. What happens? Do they dig up the corpse and walk around with it?
They find out that somehow if you play, I thought it was...
No, they play
voodoo. Music.
It's the voodoo.
You play music and he dances.
I have seen Weekend at Bernie's 2. Yeah, it's pretty bad, but I'd still watch it over this. Speed 2 Cruise Control is a 1997 American action thriller film. Can you describe it like that?
I think that was the intent.
Okay. It's produced and directed by Jan de Bont. I think it's also by, it's a story by Jan de Bont as well. The film stars Sandra Bullock, Jason Patric, Willem Dafoe, and the guy who played Django Fett. How do you say his name?
Temuera Morrison.
He's also Big D. I found this out today. Moana's father.
Yes, he is.
Cruise Control follows couple Annie and Alec vacationing in their Caribbean aboard a luxury cruise ship hijacked by a villain named Geiger. As they are trapped aboard the ship, Annie and Alex work with the ship's first officer to try to stop it as they discover it is programmed to crash into an oil tanker. Jan de Bont had the idea for the film after he had a recurring nightmare about a cruise ship crashing onto an island. Speed star Keanu Reeves was initially supposed to reprise his role as Jack Travern for the sequel, but decided not to commit and was replaced by Patric before filming. Eminent critic Roger Ebert, though, prominently stood in defense of the film, calling it a truly rousing ocean liner adventure story, only weakened by Bullock's acting. The film was also a financial disappointment, earning $164 million worldwide against a budget of $110 million. It was nominated for 8 Golden Raspberry Awards and won the award for Worst Remake or Sequel. We always ask the question, where were you? What are your memories of this movie? We'll start with you, Big D.
I think on one of the first podcasts we did, I talked about what I did when I worked at Blockbuster with one of the copies of the original Speed, where we had done some splicing. So if you want to have some fun, you can go back and listen to that. But needless to say, we mixed in a Ron Jeremy climax with the bus jumping sequence, and I released the tape back into the store. So that was interesting. We talked about that in one of the first podcasts. That being said, Speed 1 was a great movie. And I think there was a bit of a break in the years. And for some reason, I didn't have the same interest to go see it without Keanu. Because Keanu was what made the movie great. You cared about him, the interaction and the chemistry between Bullock and him. When this came out and it was Jason Patric, yeah, he's a good-looking guy, but he's vanilla. I had no interest to go see it. So this was a Blockbuster rental, probably on a Friday or Saturday night. But didn't have any great memories of it. And now after rewatching it, I understand why.
Yeah, I feel like Jason Patric's a Toyota Camry of Hollywood actors.
Wait, but what about when he has long hair?
Like
Like Lost Boys? He looked great.
Then he's like a Toyota Camry with a spoiler.
But he gives that stupid look. He's trying to give everybody the sexy eyes. That's his one move. And without the long hair, I think it doesn't work.
I think he gives Sandra Bullock a stupid look because she's stupid. Like, I'd be giving her that same look, too. Just like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Sandra Bullock's a national treasure.
He is a PT Cruiser. Like, the first time you saw it, you're like, hey, that's kind of different, kind of interesting. And then you look at it again, you go, oh, no, that is not cool.
Big D just reinforced the age difference between us and him. When I saw PT Cruiser, I did not think that's interesting and different. I thought, whose grandma is driving it, and why the fuck did they build that thing? So for me, I've never seen this movie before, and there's a good reason for that. One is I actually didn't care for Speed, the original. I didn't think it was that good, and I cannot stand Sandra Bullock. Like, this movie is by far the worst I've seen of her. But I haven't seen, from Miscongeniality to, what was the other one you guys were mentioning earlier?
Demolition Man.
Demolition Man. Yeah,
she was dumb in that movie too.
Yeah, I've never cared for her. So I took a hard pass on this as a teen. So this was my first exposure to it, and I went into it with like open arms and was just stabbed in the chest.
So did you ever see so you did watch the original Speed?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I completely forgot, I guess, all what is supposed to be funny about her character, because I like I said, I purposely avoided this movie, much in the same manner that Keanu Reeves is on record as saying why he avoided this movie. He said when he was on the Jimmy Kimmel Show, and I quote, "I loved working with Jan de Bont and Sandra, of course. I was just in the situation in life where I got the script and I read the script and I was like, ugh." It was about a cruise ship, and I was thinking, a bus, a cruise ship, Speed. But then a cruise ship is even slower than a bus, and I was like, I love you guys, but I just can't do it. That's my exact thoughts that I had when I saw this on the shelves at my local Blockbuster. I was like, are they punking us? Is Speed supposed to be like a satirical name because it's not supposed to go fast?
Well, yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, Raj, because in movies where you have a digital speedometer, typically you're like looking at like 100, 120 miles per hour, and it's like 17 knots. Like, everybody get excited. We're going 17 knots.
Dude, but also I found myself questioning, how fast is 17 knots? I had to start Googling. Is it 20 miles an hour?
I had to break out my nautical calculator.
Yeah, but here's the thing: is that the first one should be called Speed, and the second one should be called Mass, and then it would have been exciting. Just think about the size of the thing.
Yeah.
So hey, Raj, before you get to the trailer here, have either of you watched the trailer?
No.
No.
I've purposely avoided the trailer as well.
You're smart, and maybe that's why the movie did so bad. Go back and watch it. I'm going to play it here for everybody. They give away every single beat of the movie. You didn't need to go see it. As the movie's going on, you know exactly what's going to happen. They show everything.
Yeah, well, like only 3 things happen.
But if you show them miss the tanker, and then you show it go into the town, and you see the plane explode.
Spoiler alert.
They've shown you everything.
Yeah, you don't even have to listen to this podcast. We just told you everything that just happened.
Look, listen to the trailer and turn it off. Save yourself an hour of your life.
Does it show Sandra Bullock in a bikini?
It does, and she's saying that cringeworthy line, "Who's ready to party on the big boat?" And she's looking embarrassed the entire time.
I went on a cruise with Big D a couple years ago, and I didn't get that reference until now. We were boarding the ship, and he turns around and he's like, "Who's ready to party on the big boat?"
I think I was referencing something else.
Oh, that's true. All right, play the trailer.
Mr. Kinter!
Oh, you're back again.
Yeah, I wanted to make up for last week. Sorry, Mr. Kinter, but that bus was going way too fast.
Your boyfriend drive like this?
Oh, Alex, no. Alex is so completely different.
You are officially on vacation.
I was going to surprise you tonight, but it's a cruise. Caribbean.
Since we last saw Annie, some things have changed.
This almost seems too perfect, doesn't it?
Some things
Want me to step on your feet?
haven't.
Can't be worth seeing.
Swear I am never leaving the house again.
Now they can't change course.
Seems odd.
Yes, it is odd. They're abandoning ship in the middle of the night.
They can't stop.
LAPD. Your what? Somebody find the captain.
And they can't
The captain is dead.
get off.
Who is running the ship? Oh, yeah. I am. A position charges throughout the ship.
Where is he?
He's everywhere.
I've been in worse situations than this, and panicking does not help. Trust me.
I know who you are.
I know you too. How are you going to stop me now, my friend?
That was odd.
What kind of cop are you? You're going to get us all killed.
This summer,
He's taking us right into an oil tanker.
Man!
if you didn't catch the bus,
Oh, let's bust the transmission like a car, because I've done that.
you won't want to miss the boat.
We're gonna crash!
You got to stop the ship.
You slowed it down, but you're not going to stop her. Speed 2, cruise control.
How do you like your vacation so far? Man, I just bought a condo here.
Alex Shaw, played by Jason Patric, is on a motorcycle chasing a vehicle with stolen goods. After he catches the driver of the vehicle, his girlfriend Annie spots him during his driving test. She finds out that Alex is on the SWAT team after he lied and told her he was a beach officer. As an apology, Alex surprises her with a Caribbean cruise on the Seabourn Legend.
Okay, so Gene started off with this. Sandra Bullock, when she's driving, it is cartoonish and dumb, but it's to the point where she's bordering on mentally challenged.
Yeah, I don't think a movie like this would actually fly today because of the fact that it is insulting actually to the actress in the sense that there is no way that she's that bumbling, that she's that stupid. And there's a lot of times when you see movies like Dumb and Dumber where somebody is a bumbling character, but there's an endearing part to it. And in this, it's not that she's different or eccentric. It's like she's just straight up stupid. She's taking a driving test and she's completely unaware of her social interaction with the instructor, with the traffic around her. It's just embarrassing.
Dude, but I'm not even talking the driving test. She's driving and there's like 13 cops that are trapped behind her. As she's driving, she's refusing to pull off. She runs a red light and then she ends up crashing into a cop car and she giggles.
Did you get the feeling that Jan de Bont doesn't know what humor is, or it doesn't translate to English? Like, is the Dutch humor just that? Like, do you think the people in the Netherlands find this movie hilarious?
Well, you can tell that there was an attempt to make it an international film in the sense that all the jokes, they made sure that they happened during action sequences. And then it was always very clearly, like, there was no, like, muttering under the breath. There was no, like, nothing was suggestive in looks or gestures. It was all like, hey, I will give you the setup. And then they would respond, here is the punchline.
Yeah, I felt like this was the movie equivalent of, do you guys ever watch, a lot of times they're posted on Facebook or YouTube or even Twitter. It's some sort of foreign candid camera show where they have a laugh track over the back, but there's no words. It's just actions. It's like the most recent one. I'll give you an example. They had a guy hiding in the bushes that was controlling the water fountain, and it would turn the water into wine when a guy dressed like Jesus would come by and wave his hand, and all these other people were like, what? It's like the softball. It's like the lowest common denominator of comedy, but it's like apparently internationally adored. That's what I felt like this movie was.
It's not only internationally adored, it's adored in Glendale, Arizona. What the fuck are you watching in your free time?
Glendale? I don't live in Glendale. Please don't insult me that way.
Scottsdale, whatever.
So I would actually argue the opposite, is that I think one reason why movies like Jackie Chan movies or Bruce Lee movies work is that they say very little. Like, they keep it simple. They let the action do the talking. What they made the mistake of in this movie is there's too much talking. So they're pairing what you just described, Raj, but then they're trying to put like verbal joking over it. And you see at the beginning that tactical officer who's in charge of the roadblock unit, and he says, all right, Alex, no stunts. Let's do this by the book. And it's starting out with a fucking stunt scene. You're like, this is ridiculous. And if the movie were a parody, this is actually brilliant, but that's not what they're trying to do.
You're talking about Miles Dyson, the inventor of Skynet?
Yes, he's the most polite police officer in the LAPD. Gentlemen, wait. The car has gone too far. Let's not shoot. But they do every 80s trope. You mentioned no more stunts, and he immediately does a wheelie on the crotch rocket. Number one, why the fuck is he riding a crotch rocket?
With no helmet.
No
helmet. Makes no sense. That's exactly what I want in a pursuit vehicle. A crotch rocket on a mountain road that just spells, it's going to go well. But then he's chasing an ice cream truck that's packed with stolen electronics. When the boxes are coming out the back, you can clearly see they're empty.
Wait a minute. I don't understand how... So how did they steal the computers? How do you think the heist went?
They pulled up in the ice cream truck. They played the music. The employees all came out. They went in the back, stole the merchandise, and put it back in the ice cream truck.
So they were distracted by the bomb pops. They were distracted by the vanilla cones.
Yeah, by the strawberry shortcakes.
Yeah, but the joke was on the Ice Cream Bandit gang because all the boxes were empty.
The Ice Cream Bandit gang.
But no, everything in this movie is done the hard way. Like, just like you described, Big D, they've got a roadblock set up already. He's chasing the thing on a motorcycle. Somehow this Ducati Superbike can't catch up with an ice cream truck. Whatever. But this extends even beyond this chase scene. Just when they're getting on the damn cruise ship, they got to take a boat to the cruise ship. Like, every cruise I've ever seen goes into some sort of a port. And I'm no cruise ship doctor, but do people normally take a boat to the ship? Is that normal?
Fuck no. How are you going to put the luggage? It's a shit show when you're trying to get on a cruise. When you have all these people with 4 and 5 bags, it is not something that you could take a little dinghy to get onto the boat. So that was done just for the movie. But the one thing I want to go back to that first chase scene and talk about how tropey and 90s it was. That opening slow-mo, that was not Jason Patric. This was clearly before DVDs. I'm watching the slow-mo and I'm like, who is that? And then it lands and they do the quick close-up. That was not Jason Patric. And that damn motion, the shaking of the camera, was that something that was supposed to get us invested in it? In the action and feel the tension?
Oh no, I think what it's trying to do is exactly what we complained about on Empire Strikes Back, was that, when you can see the action too closely and too slowly, you can spot the flaws. Like, none of this action scene would be even remotely believable if the camera was steady and any shot lasted more than a second.
Yeah, I feel like he's definitely stolen a page. I mean, this is the issue that we have with Michael Bay films, right? Is that you don't understand where the action's going on. There's senseless obstacles and terrible driving jokes that are happening in like all in the first 10 minutes. Also, Dorf is there. Like how much do you think they had to pay to get Tim Conway to come in and do a hilarious cameo?
I don't know what he was doing at this point in his life.
I'm so glad all of you know who Tim Conway is.
I know he was on the Carol Burnett show, but again, I'm going to show my age with that comment.
I bet Tim Conway has a PT Cruiser. The thing that I texted you guys and I was like, holy shit! Like, I thought that this was a prequel. Maybe this is before she gets on the bus and that's why she's terrible at driving. And now I understand why she lost her license in the first Speed movie. No, it's definitely a sequel, and they kind of gloss over how like that relationship just ended, and then there's a running joke about big events and how that destroys relationships. Like this was
Yeah, Annie clearly has an authority complex where she is habitually dating. She's incapable of handling life or taking anything seriously, so she habitually fetishizes police officers and men of extreme action. It's kind of sad when you think about it.
Yeah. No, do you feel that this movie would have been better had it been a prequel?
No, there's no saving this movie.
No, there's no. Okay. Well, aboard the ship, passenger John Geiger hacks into the ship's computer system, destroying the ship's communication systems, kills the captain, and then steals jewelry from the ship's vault. As passengers evacuate, Drew, a young deaf girl, becomes trapped in the elevator. As Annie and Alex attempt to board the last lifeboat, Geiger programs the ship to continue sailing. The winch lowering the lifeboat jams. Alex jumps onto the boat to rescue the passengers who are falling off, and Annie and the first mate Juliano get to the ship's gangplank to get them back on deck.
So Roger mentioned a cruise that we did a few years ago, and I think there's probably, what was there, like 20 of us who went?
Yeah, it was a giant group.
For those who haven't gone on a cruise, the security and the bag check is pretty strict. So I don't know that Geiger could necessarily sneak on his fake golf clubs and golf balls when I don't know why he's bringing them on a cruise.
Why is he bringing golf clubs on a cruise?
I don't know, but I'm going to give a little tip to all those out there who might do a cruise anytime soon. The most expensive part of a cruise is booze. So the group of friends that we had, we all committed to smuggling as much alcohol as we could all bring. And then whatever was confiscated, between the rest, we would collectively put it together. And the two trips that work for everybody out there is recorking wine bottles. And you can go on to YouTube and Google that. So you can actually empty wine bottles because you're allowed to bring two. And we would fill them up with either vodka, some kind of whiskey, gin, Fireball. And also vodka in water bottles will work. You just have to boil the caps and you can take them off with the safety rings. But Raj, how do they identify vodka in water bottles?
Let me tell you what really truly happened throughout the entire cruise ship. It was Dick going from port to port, like hiding booze in his short like lining. And listen, I can understand if we were in college or we didn't have jobs or we didn't make money, but like, we got on the cruise, and then for like $100, you can get the all-you-can-drink package. You guys were constantly having to go back to your rooms, fill your glasses, and then it was such a hassle. It was a giant catastrophe the entire time you wanted booze.
No, you're completely wrong in that.
I'm not wrong.
First of all, that alcohol pass was not $100.
It was $100.
Please. The reason why you only had a couple drinks was because you had Vyvanse all the time. The rest of us had...
I drank constantly that trip. You know why? Because I had the unlimited pass.
No. It was not an inconvenience. It saved everyone money, and it was a nice collective group.
You guys played dice the entire time.
It was a good time.
You played dice, and we sang karaoke every night. I hate cruises because of this. I hate cruises. I hate Carnival. I hate Speed 2. I hate this podcast for making me watch this movie. I never want to watch movies ever again.
But you don't hate Brazilian girls that we bring on the cruise?
Oh my God. There were these hot Brazilian girls that you brought on board, and I think we all ended up making out with them that night, and then we hung out with them the rest of the cruise. It was brilliant. It was glorious.
And a few years later, there was Big D had Emma, and it was great.
Yep.
No more cruises.
Nope.
Oh no, I just meant as a result of meeting the Brazilian girls.
Oh, that's right.
Okay, but to go back to the movie here.
To be fair, none of the Brazilian girls were deaf or 15.
Now, was I wrong in that? I texted you guys when I was first watching it. Was that interaction and relationship between Alex and that 14-year-old deaf girl, was that normal? Or did it set off some bells?
Completely inappropriate. He looks her up and down when she takes off her jacket. They definitely sexualize that relationship. Again, I don't know what goes on in the Netherlands, but Jan, I mean, this is 1997 America. That's not appropriate.
I'm glad you're agreeing with me here, because you're talking about the POV. When Alex makes eyes on that young girl, that child, it flips the POV back to him, and he's looking her up and down, and then focuses on her crotch and her legs. And Sandra Bullock kind of gives him half of a look. It is so awkward that the fat, whatever they called them, the couple who was talking about the need
fat
to
busters?
eat fat. The fat buster couple stopped talking about fat and looked at him like, you perv, what are you doing?
But then he starts talking to her with sign language.
Also known as signing.
No, he signs her. I don't know. Is that flirting? Can you flirt with signing?
Yeah, we don't know what he was saying.
If you're deaf, write in and let us know how you flirt and sign at the same time.
Yes, all the deaf listeners of the podcast, please write in. So all right. So I want to talk about, because I've never been on a cruise. So you guys are talking about all your cruise stories, and from the get-go, a cruise to me seems like water prison, and I want nothing to do with it. But in 90s movies, they always, just like in a Real Genius, a lot of 80s and 90s movies, they have everybody gets into the song they've never heard. It's like a musical, right? Like they go to a party and some band plays for the first time, and everybody's just like, oh yeah, we're into it. Let's do it. Back to the Future did it. Real Genius did it. And so in this movie, you've got the opening party scene on deck. And first of all, is that what cruise ship parties are like? Is it everybody dancing with a live band on the deck? Is that how it works?
For us, we were busy going back to our rooms and getting booze, and we were too busy rolling dice in the back to participate with all the other cruise ship passengers. The thing that they got right were the fat people, the amount of food, and UB40 was also playing in our dining room.
Yeah, so, and I'm glad you noticed that, because Carlinhos Brown is the guy who's singing on deck, and he sings this song from an album actually that came out in 1997, I believe, called A Namorada. And everybody's getting down on that. They're partying, they're dancing around, people flinging their bad hairdos around, and that's great. UB40 is playing in the dinner hall, and nobody gives a shit. And they're covering Elvis. And this is the thing that I suspect about cruise ships, having not even been on one, is that the only way you're going to get people interested in your music on a cruise ship is if you're playing cover songs, like a wedding.
Yeah, the shows on the cruise ships are comically bad.
They're not
good.
The
talent, you can tell, is a step down from a community theater.
It's a step down from theme parks. It's step down from theme parks.
It's pretty bad. So normally, the theaters will be half filled with people who are sitting there drinking, just waiting.
Drinks from their roofs.
That's true. That's half the cruise. Planning on where they're going to go at night. And the clubs, you would think, oh, this is going to be happening. There's 2 or 3 clubs. No, it is the complete opposite. Like nude beaches. You think there'd be some hot people there. It's all old people who are getting way too drunk. But by 1, 2 in the morning, it's usually half empty, and you're questioning why you're still awake.
Yeah, the goal on a cruise, let me break this down. It's a lot like prison. It is truly, I think, water prison. I think that's the best analogy. Because immediately you want to get there and hook up with someone, and they protect you from everyone else. So you want to find someone, you want to hook up with them, and then the rest of the time you're just stirring hooch in your toilet, to avoid the warden from seeing, you bring on booze.
I understand that that's the way it is if you're a hip happening single guy on the cruise, but I wonder with the couples thing, to me,
it's terrible.
This part of the reason I did not like this movie was we had to follow Annie and Alex around on this ship, and when you're at a party and there's a couple and they're fighting, and you just want to get the fuck away from them. I felt like I was stuck with them for 2 hours, and we're supposed to be like, in the end, the spoiler alert, they end up engaged. And I'm like, the whole movie, they have tension. They're taking pot shots at each other. There's that incredible jealousy that both of them are exhibiting toward the little girl or toward Willem Dafoe. Like, why are these people together at all?
That's what a lot of cruises are. It starts off the first day. You have sexy time right away. And then by the third day, or whenever anyone's getting off, everyone is pissed.
They didn't fuck at all this entire time. Like the whole movie, they didn't fuck.
They did. They didn't show it to us.
No, they definitely did not, because she's egging him on. She's like, you want some shuffleboard downstairs? Yeah. How about we do some shuffleboard? And then she goes flirts with Willem Dafoe. Actually,
why do you think Alex puked?
That's terrible. No, I definitely do remember Big D and his wife getting into a fight. I also got into a fight. So 2 years later, I took a cruise with my family and brought my girlfriend, and we got into a huge fight 2 days in because all I wanted to do was get away from her and watch soccer. You want to drink your unlimited drinks and you want to watch a little soccer on a fuzzy television because you can't get good reception on cruise ships.
No,
it's
and
terrible.
Gene, I'll give you another tip. That room they stayed in, that is not a normal cruise.
No.
Okay. Normally, people who are on a budget, you're staying in like a coffin. It's like a closet with 4 fold-down cots that come out of the wall. It looks like a prison cell. It made me wonder what the fuck Alex is doing to afford that suite with the balcony. That shit was not cheap.
Well, not only that, but like, all right, so it's 1997 when they released this movie. You know what other movie came out in 1997? Titanic, right? And in the movie Titanic, James Cameron does a very effective job of showcasing the magnitude of Titanic and how big the ship is and how expansive it is. Did you guys get the feeling that this boat was roughly 25 feet long?
I mean, yeah, it took one guy to sabotage the whole fucking thing.
Yeah.
So it was more like a discount yacht.
And they kept running into like the same 6 people.
That's right.
On a regular cruise, you could go 2 days and not see your friends, the same people. You have to carry around like those little walkie-talkies if you hope to find anyone. Fucking Alex, he can go find a deaf girl 3 decks below in the engine room that he's never even been before. So this has got to be a smaller ship.
Well, yeah, not only that, but if you compare the Titanic to like modern cruise ships, Titanic is very small in comparison. But then I looked it up, and this was actually a real cruise ship. But it is, unfortunately, like it is a smaller cruise ship. In real life, this only holds 230 passengers. So it really truly is like a giant yacht. It's like Diddy's yacht. That's how big this ship is. Which doesn't seem like a cruise.
Thank you for the universally relatable benchmark
like
there.
Yeah. Speaking of universally relatable, how about some of that hacker tech?
Well, yeah, I wanted to ask you, Gene, about the hacker tech, because you're always, into it. Obviously, I spotted that control box. You have to label everything in the 90s. So we don't know what it is. And he pulls out that box that fucking says fiber optic converter.
Just in case you didn't know what the villain was using.
And what did it take in the 90s to hack a cruise ship? It didn't seem like much.
No, I mean that's like that's the old trope in any movie is if you got an antenna and a blinking light on something, usually magnetized, that's going to be all you need to take over an entire system. And what I always love is that they've always got like a graphic user interface for the person hacking in as well. Like they make it very friendly and also if you have some hacking equipment, just a pointer to anybody who's looking to steal a cruise ship. Make sure that it doesn't beep when it's functioning because that's really a dead giveaway that you're hacking into something. Yeah. And maybe kill the guy if he spots you using it. That might be a good idea.
Dude, but what about that Nintendo Power Glove he was using with the keyboard? That shit was hot. And I'm telling you, on a cruise ship, you can't get your phone to work. Somehow his radio works from no matter what deck, from front to back. He never has a single problem connecting. And his fucking plan was so overly complicated.
Yeah, can we talk about his plan and what exactly it was and what his motive is?
Break it down for us.
For this. So, from my understanding, he designed the computer systems, the computer navigational systems for this cruise line. So he was probably paid pretty well.
I imagine.
But before the launching of the cruise ship, they let him go? Or they let him go because he contracts some sort of blood disease?
So the idea is that Geiger got copper poisoning in his blood from working with computers too much. And if you are out there working at Intel or Amcor or anything else, yeah, he says I was working around computers and they gave my blood copper poisoning. And just so you know, engineers out there, programmers out there, computer manufacturers out there, not a risk for you. So copper poisoning is from like ingesting copper. So like in your food, in your water, maybe even swimming. Birth control is most birth control, other than, pulling out, is
swallowing pennies,
is copper based. And so, yes. So don't worry about it. It's impossible for you to get copper. But that's basically what happened, is that he got copper poisoning from working with computers. He's angry about it. He got let go and they wouldn't take care of his health. So he had to resort to leeches. And that's
like 1700 science.
That's the story. That's Geiger's whole story.
But is he really the bad guy? I mean, we can all kind of.
Oh, agree. This is a Breaking Bad scenario.
He's doing every possible thing he can do not to kill people, right? He gets in, the guy who comes in the room, who comes to make his bed and do his whatever, that towel animal, the towel swan or gorilla. He doesn't kill him. He doesn't kill him. He locks him in the closet. The only one he willingly really kills in the beginning is the captain. And why did the captain even step forward? He hits him with a light that's fixed onto a swivel. If the captain doesn't take like 3 steps forward, what the fuck is Willem Dafoe going to do?
He keeps hitting him with the light post, and the captain's like, why'd you do that? Don't do that again.
Stop.
What are you doing? Please. Like, all he has to do is step backwards like 3 steps.
See, you say that, Big D, but he's inconsistent, and maybe we can attribute this to the copper poisoning driving him mad or whatever. But he kills the captain. He spares Ashton, the bellhop. He allows the passengers to safely evacuate, but then he tries to blow up Alex for God knows what reason, right?
Well, and then Alex should have gotten on the ship. It's
still the fact is he's not trying to save everybody's life. Then he's willingly ramming a ship into a fucking oil tanker. Again, probably going to kill a lot of people. So I don't see him as this benevolent Robin Hood character.
No, but he starts off benevolent. But Raj, can you agree? Listen, one of his biggest problem is he gives them 15 minutes to evacuate the ship.
Yeah.
There's fucking no way.
As per protocol.
The Consta Concordia, you see what happens when you give people like an hour to abandon the ship. It doesn't work too well.
Do you think that there was a jewel thief on the Costa Concordia and that's why they ran aground? They're stealing jewels. At no point when we were on the Carnival cruise did they, was that a 90s thing? That they would just come out and people would get all excited about jewels?
The jewels oddly was used as some sort of a vehicle for them to demonstrate that there was love between couples that they were willing to overtly show, and somehow Alex and Annie didn't have that love. And I was like, that is stupidly poetic, I guess.
Everything on a cruise ship is it's like being in an airport, but you're trapped. It's like everything is shitty in terms of like the quality, except for maybe the photos. Like the photos are pretty good. But every night you can go take photos, and they have different backdrops and different themes. We'll post a couple of them from our cruise ship. They're really good. Ours are really funny. Yes. But that's the only place that you get professional photos now is on cruise ships, because there's nothing else to do and everything else is so like jacked up in terms of pricing. So can you imagine what people are spending on these jewels that are they can't be good quality? They're probably blood diamonds. And this poor guy has to buy them because he can't afford health insurance. Like, none of this would have happened. Again, I think it's a political statement Jan de Bond is saying about American culture, because in the Netherlands, there's universal health care.
But listen, you don't think those diamonds are insured? No one's getting hurt in this crime. Get off the ship. The only one who fucks up people getting off the ship is Alex. All of these deaths and the blood from all these passengers, it's on Alex's hands. And in the end, that's why Geiger is so mad at him and goes after him and Annie. He fucked up the plan. Without those two, the diamonds are gone. He's off finding new leeches. The insurance company's paying off those diamonds, and nobody's hurt.
Well, armed with skeet guns, Alex goes with Juliano to Geiger's cabin. Geiger remotely detonates explosives inside the room. Annie uses a chainsaw. That's right, a chainsaw to rescue people trapped behind fire doors. Meanwhile, Alex orders the navigator, Merced, to flood the ship and slow it down by opening the ballast doors. Alex sees Drew on a monitor after she climbs out of the elevator and runs to save her. He catches Geiger at gunpoint, but Geiger escapes. Using the ship's intercom, Geiger explains that he designed the ship's autopilot and is taking revenge against the cruise line after being fired for when he got sick from copper poisoning.
Why does the crew just mindlessly decide to follow anything that Alex says? If I just run into like a cockpit or like into the bridge of a ship and start yelling, "I'm LAPD," will people just blindly follow what I say?
Yeah, I mean, clearly Alex is the best at everything, though. Is that what you have to understand? Like in every situation, he's scanning the room and he's like, "That guy's not watching golf. He said he was into golfing." He's like, "That girl's deaf, but I know sign language." He's like, "Oh, I also know how to wear a diving suit and go underwater and fuck with propellers." Like he's James Bond. Of course, you got to listen to him.
Yeah, he's the human equivalent of the Doctor Who screwdriver. He goes into the cockpit and he's asking the first officer. He's like, "Well, obviously it has a hard line, right?" Like he's using all these nautical like engineering terms that even people in the they're like, "I don't know, maybe I assume it does, possibly."
He's Jack Bauer from like the later seasons of 24. He can do everything. He finds that little radio receiver under the control panel of the bridge. He doesn't even know it's there. What is he, psychic?
No, he's like, "Oh, there's got to be a receiver somewhere." And then he starts digging underneath and looking for it. Meanwhile, Willem Dafoe, when he's planting it, he's like using like the most absurd, like it would be like, "Sir, why did you just plant this thing underneath there? Why are you acting drunk and just planting stuff? And like, can you please leave?"
No, and the thing is that they make Willem Dafoe so adept at what he's doing to a point, and then in the last 10 minutes he forgets how to be an adult. And then you've also got Alex able to do all these things, but then everybody else is a fucking idiot. Like Annie with that chainsaw, like not understanding that you have a chainsaw in a doorway that people are trying to get out of. Like she can't be, again, this goes back to her driving thing. Like she's so fucking stupid.
Dude, the only person,
but hold on.
No, I'm sorry, go ahead.
But while Annie has a chainsaw in front of all these people's face, Dante is sitting there snapping photos of the half-naked passengers and the people like in this room that's on fire. What the fuck is Dante doing? Put the camera down.
Again, this is the best part of cruises, is taking photos.
It's true. Well, and so as I'm on a roll hating everybody, I'm like, well, he's stupid. She's fucking stupid. That's fucking stupid. I'm watching Drew, the deaf girl, and I go, okay, this actress is like making a mockery of being deaf, right? Like she's exaggerating her deafness. When he comes down into the ballast compartment, when Alex comes down and he comes around the corner, she's been down there by herself for like 10 minutes, and a grown man comes around the corner. She doesn't even jump at all. Like she's not startled at all, and she can't hear him coming clearly. And so I'm like, all right, this bitch needs to learn how to act deaf. And then I'm like, oh, actually, Christine Firkins, the actress, is actually deaf. So
yeah, I feel.
My apologies, Christine Firkins.
I feel, I texted you guys. I was like,
why? Because she's deaf, or you just called her a bitch?
No, he
said this.
No, I'm saying like this actress who's making fun of deaf people.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's saying it like in the gotcha.
But she's actually deaf. So I
she's truly deaf. Yeah, exactly. I felt like she was at first very creepy until I realized that she really was a deaf actress, and I was like, oh, okay. Well, that's just her acting. But she was like the most believable character. I feel like she does smart things when a lot of other people are doing dumb things. Not only does she escape and then flirts with Alex.
Smart.
And she's like, oh, I'll be 15 next week.
Well, what about that move?
Yeah, she's climbing up the elevator. Yeah, she's fucking if I'm ever stuck in an elevator, I'm totally doing that move up to escape. But can we also talk about, like, again, this movie jams in jokes where there don't need to be jokes. Why are they trying to escape? Because there's smoke coming out of the vent. But why did they have to take off his pants? Why did the fat buster guy have to take off his pants?
Because they were trying
to block the vent.
They're trying to block the vents.
Okay, but then he's like, no one else is taking their pants off. And then the girl's like, well, that's because I'm not wearing any panties. And then they just like hold the camera there for like a good 10 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah, but then
it's a very interesting directorial choice.
But then he has a funny line where Sandra Bullock's looking for the deaf girl. has anybody seen a little girl? He goes, no little girls in here, only big women. Got to slip in a fat joke. But why are we talking about Geiger's plan being overly complicated? He went about it the wrong way. Alex goes into the control room simply by yelling LAPD. He convinces one of the first mates to flood the ship. That would have been a much better approach. He steals a gun. He could have been a terrorist. He should have been a terrorist. That's all Geiger needed to do, was incorporate someone like Alex.
Not only that, but it's like the most complicated. The only thing that's more complicated than Geiger's plan is their plan to shut down the ship, to like slow the ship. Number one, they're opening ballast doors. Then he gets in a scuba gear and goes underneath. Like, all right, so the crew tank. I think you're
going a step ahead there.
The crew noticed that Geiger has set the ship to crash into an oil tanker. Therefore, Alex decides to stop the ship by diving underneath it and jamming the propeller with a steel cable. Geiger realizes that Alex is trying to stop the ship, so he jams the cable winch while Alex is underwater, causing it to break off the ship and free the cable. Geiger takes Annie hostage and escapes with her on a boat from the ship's stern.
So in Die Hard, John McClane is invested in it. His wife is a captive. On this ship, Annie is free. Why is he so gung-ho to be a fucking hero and to decide that he wants to go scuba dive under a ship and risk his life? What's in it for him? Why isn't he just following Annie's instruction and guidance, saying, stay with me, let's get on a ship and get out of here? Why is he still putting his life and her life in danger?
Because he's part of the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is a character study for Alex and the fact that he can't let shit go. You know, I mean, think about it. Annie makes a really good point earlier in the movie. The first night that they're there, you know, she wakes up, she's naked in bed, and his ass is out skeet shooting. Like that was what he wanted to do that day. He was pulling a Raj.
Dude, if you puked in a bed next to your girlfriend or wife and she was nude, would she be thinking sexy time?
I don't know. I mean, I came into a room that Raj and his girlfriend stayed in, and there was puke everywhere and dogs running around, and I think they still had sexy time.
Oh God, it was so disgusting. I think we did it. We did gross. We had sex in the puke room. Oh, I mean, we cleaned it up. I don't know what I think. So that was one night that we were drunk within 30 minutes. There was something in one of those rooms.
Yeah, it was alcohol.
We were on a land cruise, essentially.
It was it was a murder scene when I walked in there. And I mean, that hotel has since, I think it's been condemned at this point. But I don't know. I thought the reason why he was trying to save the ship was that they didn't have any more boats to get on. Like all the escape boats were gone except for the one that was stuck to the ship that they couldn't get the cables down.
No, when they first stopped the boat, they had a chance to get off, but he decided to be a hero and go try to save Dante and that other boat. I'm sorry, I'm a dick. If I'm on Titanic and I have a chance to get on the boat with my family, I'd love to help you, but I got to get off.
Yeah, I'm getting off the boat.
Yeah.
I mean, can people just run around screaming LAPD and then people, like you said, just people will assume that they're a hero? Like, how many crazy people do you think have tried this? And like, after watching movies like Die Hard and this, have gone around screaming LAPD, NYPD, and tried to do something?
Well, it's peculiar because again, they're in international waters, and most of the ships are not necessarily crewed by Americans, so they'd be like LAPD, like who gives a shit? Like,
right?
So what? But I also noticed that at the end, you know, another plot flaw, I guess, is that Willem Dafoe then escapes the boat with a speedboat that's sitting in the aft of the ship that nobody seemed to notice earlier. Like, there was a speedboat attached to the ship. You think everybody would be clamoring? If I'm, again, speaking of, you know, being a coward or whatever, I'm going to get on that boat and get the hell out of there. And you got to tell me the crew itself didn't know that you get on the boat, you let the Coast Guard handle it.
Well, I'll defend it because the back area, it was locked. So occasionally Geiger would get a notice on his little, you know, Nintendo Power Pad thing, and it would say like adjustment needed. So he used that to unlock the back door. But a bigger problem is I know they changed the story and the plot once Keanu backed out. That entire thing where they're on the side of the boat and the boat is supposedly going at full speed, which is, I don't know, 16, 17, 18 knots. The water and wind is just whipping by. But every time we see Sandra Bullock Jango Fett or Alex on the side of the ship, the water is just calm and pristine. It is glass. How did nobody in editing realize that they were shooting a scene where it just didn't make physical sense?
You know, Waterworld is much maligned for being a terrible movie that took a lot of resources to make, but at least they had the decency in Waterworld that any angle they shot from, you couldn't see land. And they made sure that, you know, the water conditions were consistent with the type of tectonics that would be present in that sort of a world. And so this movie made no effort to do that. The physics of the whole thing were fucked.
Yeah, it's absolutely fucking ridiculous. And Annie's a fucking asshole. She's trying to save Alex. Jango Fett's out there. The winch gets ripped out, almost takes his arm off. Wouldn't you turn around and be like, hey, buddy, you okay? She doesn't even look at the poor dude. Doesn't even care.
Do you think at some point they were just like, we got to finish this?
Yes.
I don't care how it ends. We just got to finish it.
I wish that were the case, Raj, but there's still like a half hour left in the movie at this point. I'm like, Jesus, fucking wrap it up.
More than that, there's like 45 minutes left. We're only halfway through the movie at this point.
And here's the thing is that in this situation, I had to do some research to go, there's got to be like, ships cannot just be stuck like this where somebody can just override your whole system electronically. And there's actually an emergency fuel shutoff that you can manually operate. It is a manual operation. You just get to it, shut the fuel off. You don't have to stick a wire in the fucking propeller. Just shut the fuel off, and then the engine stops. But you have to listen to Sandra. But you have to listen to Sandra Bullock. Let's throw a wrench in the engine, like I did.
What makes it even worse and more drawn out is that unbearable theme music, like that Caribbean version of the Speed theme. Dun 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 dun. It keeps playing. I felt like it was on repeat. Like it was just a loop. It was playing like Pirates of the Caribbean for at least an hour and a half of this movie.
Could you imagine it without it, though? It would have felt like even slower.
Mix it up. Give me 2 songs, 3 different variations, the same one over and over. It was like a fucking loop, or like I was watching an animated GIF for an hour.
Well, Alex and Dante go into the ship's bilge and use the bow thrusters to turn it. The ship screeches down the side of the tanker and heads straight into a marina. Alex jumps off to rescue Annie and hijacks a speedboat. Geiger takes Annie into a seaplane. Alex shoots at it from the boat with a spear gun and reels himself into the water. He rescues Annie and Geiger crashes into the oil tanker, blowing it up. Annie and Alex travel back into shore in the speedboat, and he gives her an engagement ring. Annie then returns to Los Angeles to take another driving test, and as she starts to take her test, a bus pulls out in front of her, and she says to her instructor, sorry, that bus was going way too fast. And then there's a crash scene. Like, there's a crash ADR at the end. Like, I hopefully she dies. Hopefully putting an end to this movie.
All right,
not in real life, guys, just in a movie.
I want to rewind it to when they make a cruise ship make a 90-degree turn as it's set on a crash course with an oil tanker. So a little lesson in bow thrusters. Okay, here's
my God,
Gene's science moment. Shat the facts. All right.
Gene's nautical facts.
Yar. Okay, so a bow thruster is actually mounted in the bow of the ship, and it transverses the ship, right? So it would be as your normal propellers point backward, the bow thrusters point left and right. And they allow you to maneuver the ship when you're going into port for docking, right? So you can turn the ship like left and right. But here's the thing, is they're made for when you're going 5 knots or slower, because the boat is basically standing still at this point. You're just trying to bring it into the dock, okay? Above 5 knots, the bow thrusters make no difference. They're certainly not powerful enough to take a 17 or 14 knot ship and turn it 90 degrees in a tight space. So again, this is one of those things we talk about in these movies all the time, where they take the time to explain something. And I think a lot of the audience might be satisfied with that, but anybody paying attention is going to go, wait, that makes no sense at all.
But how the fuck do people not see this ship coming? These ships, even though this is a smaller cruise ship, it's pretty damn big. And I don't know why anybody in the theater would question what was going to happen. I didn't worry about whether physically the bow thrusters would work. I knew from the trailer it wasn't going to hit it. I knew from the trailer the ship was going to end up hitting the dock. There was no suspense.
And I know why they had to include it in the trailers, because they spent almost all their money on this scene. So they're like, well, we got to put it in the trailer. This is the big, this is the money shot, right? So that final scene in which the ship crashed into the island of St. Martin, it cost almost a quarter of that $110 million budget. And at the time, it set records as the largest and most expensive stunt ever filmed. So I was excited to see it. And when it finally happened, I was like, oh.
but they couldn't even get like it was just a complete bag of shit. You had the little kid being like,
some fertilizer.
Yeah, mommy, there's a big boat. So you got the people having sex in like the hotel room. You got that ridiculous little rickshaw, like delivery truck swerving. The dude who's got, it's his Chrysler LeBaron convertible. Don't crush my car. We couldn't have gotten like a Porsche.
Well, he was out there with a big gulp. Well,
you got
later.
Sailboats. Sailboats are exploding for some reason. You got 2 or 3 scuba
divers. The little dog.
Yeah,
the little dog.
Scuba divers are getting sucked under.
Surprise! He's alive.
At least 50 people probably died in this scene coming in, but the tone of it was like, take a look at this.
Big D, you forgot the lady on the payphone. Don't forget her.
I didn't see her.
Yeah, not only that, but you got lady on payphone. You've got what's his name? The steward,
Giuliano,
the cleaning guy,
Dante.
No.
Oh, Ashton.
Ashton. You got Ashton on the steering wheel, and you got Dante saying, "Well, I don't know why you're on the steering wheel. It doesn't work." And he's like, "I'm honking the horn," and Dante's like, "Well, there's got to be a horn around here somewhere." And literally, they come back to it. They like Dante gets on the PA system and he's like, "Everyone out of the way." But like you think that it's going to crash, and then there's another 20-minute scene of the boat still approaching the dock. And then there's who's the guy? The Australian, Irish, Scottish guy? His accent keeps changing throughout the entire movie. What's that guy's name?
Merced.
Merced's like 7 knots, 5 knots. 4 knots, like it's crashing into, and I'm thinking it's going, all the way through the entire island. Then it pans out, it's gone 100 yards inside. 7 knots, 4 knots, 2 knots. We're safe.
Yeah,
this fucking movie, guys,
and that's coupled.
Fuck you guys if you voted for this. Fuck you.
No, well,
I hate you.
To their credit, it was bad sequels. I mean, they went with the worst one. So I mean, kudos. But let if we pan that action back out to the water too, the idiocy isn't just happening on land. The whole situation with Toon Man's boat was, I don't know, that he's got the chick on there. He's on a date, and she suddenly has less English skills than everybody else out there. Missy the fireworks. She's Jar Jar.
She's Jar Jar Binks. She's Jar Jar fucking Binks. You have Jango Fett. You've got fucking. I think George Lucas saw this movie and he's like, you know what? I can make another Star Wars.
No, wasn't she part of the Jamaican Street Posse in Predator 2?
I'm sorry, it's the Jamaican Voodoo Gang.
Oh no, Posse. Right. It was the Jamaican Voodoo Posse.
Oh, that's right.
But again, I think here's the thing. I think the movie is over. I'm excited.
I'm hoping
because
it's
I
over.
no longer have. Yeah, I know where I have. Like I'm about to poke my eyes out, and there's still 30 minutes left of this movie.
It was like Austin Powers.
The boat crashes. It tilts, and
you remember Austin Powers, the steamroller, where the steamroller's coming to like run him over. And he's like, oh no, and he keeps panning back and forth. So now we've survived the dock crash. We're hoping this is it. Hell no.
Right.
Now we have to have the whole seaplane chase. And Gene likes to talk about if you crash your car and you try to put your hands out to block it, you're going to just shatter your arms. Gene, in your Shat on Physics, do you think it would be possible to harpoon a plane with a wire and then hold on to the fishing rod as it pulls you 100 miles an hour through water?
So here's the thing. If he had some sort of like skis on his feet and managed to stay above the water and kind of hydroplane, maybe. But he's holding on with his hands. And here's the thing. As soon as you're in, he is in the water. So, I mean, the drag on there, though, it would break your fingers off even if you could hold on.
But there's like needless exposition that's also going on throughout this entire thing. They're like, oh, man, don't hold on to that. And, oh, what is he doing? Just let go. But he's like, no, like, I'm a hero. And how many times in a movie can you showcase a device that auto pulls a rope? like I didn't even know these things existed. There's 17 of them in this movie. Like all of a sudden the spear gun has an auto rope pulley that pulls him up, and then he gets into he goes through all of this, gets up there, and then he goes, hi, hey babe, hey, how's it going? And she's like, Alex. Every time she fucking sees him in one of these like exciting action scenes, that's what they do. Hey. She's like, Alex, what are you doing here? This fucking movie. It's fucking terrible. She could have just jumped off the seaplane when it was, I don't know, barely taxiing out in the ocean. Which, by the way, why is a rental seaplane just out in the middle of the ocean? There had to be some sort of, passage of currency for this to occur. It's not like he owned the seaplane. It's not like there were people that he was working with. It's not like the leeches were released. They rented him the seaplane, brought it out, and I could believe this movie if the leeches were like his henchmen, like little what are the ones in that movie with Mike Myers? No, with Steve Carell. What's the one with Minions?
Despicable Me.
Like little fucking Despicable Me. Like imagine if there were little cute little leeches that went into St. Martin and were they dressed in a trench coat. They were 12 feet tall and they were we'd like to buy a seaplane, but in leech language. So it was cutesy. And then they went out there and they got into some hijinks with, the guy who owned the tune boat. I could like this movie, but no, there's none of that. It's just, it's terrible. It's a bad action sequence from a Waterworld, theme park show.
He was probably just controlling it from his power glove.
Most likely.
I want to talk. We've had movies at the end there where Backdraft, where they come in with this, happy, joyful music when we've already had a couple firemen die. In this movie, at the end, we have that tropical calypso music that comes in. They're hugging and kissing. It's a happy ending. They just had the Exxon Valdez essentially explode in the bay of this Caribbean island.
It's a Deepwater Horizon situation.
This is an ecological disaster on top of probably the 50 locals who were either sucked under the ship, crushed as it came into port. This is not a happy ending. But nobody questioned it because I was happy. I was just happy that the fucking movie was over.
But we get to see Tim Conway again in that in her hilarious Volkswagen thing. Guys, it's a funny car. It looks funny. This is the beginning of when Hollywood got dumb. Really dumb.
The beginning?
Lowest common done. I'm just ugh.
This movie was just preparing people for the release of the new Beetle, which came out the next year from Volkswagen. Everyone was like, "Oh, it's so cute. It has a flower holder." It was this movie. It was this all it was there to do. $110 million marketing campaign for the new Beetle.
Can I also come up with a possible plot hole?
Please
just
find one.
Oh, please,
I dare you.
Find one. I challenge you, good sir.
So the guy Toon Man on that boat, he's motoring along and he finds just a random, it looks like a cooler, like a fanny pack, white, nothing written on it. How does he know that there's diamonds in it? Is that ever explained? Does he just randomly? Is he a diamond thief? What the fuck was that about?
Obviously, it's paradise. He spent $150,000 on that boat. Where do you think he got his money? He also just bought a condo in St. Martin.
Maybe in the end he was part of it,
and he's been hassled by LAPD.
Yeah, maybe he's the one who rented the seaplane.
Most likely. I mean, I bet it was just the collection of leeches. I bet Toon Man is leeches.
Well, see, to your untrained eye, Big D, you said that it looked like a cooler or a fanny pack. To the trained eye, that is actually a diamond case. Mm-hmm. So it's actually the appropriate vehicle for transporting diamonds, and the guy knows that.
Now's the time of the podcast where we break out our Shat meters and give you our wipe scores. If you've never listened to the podcast, 0 wipes is Sandra Bullock in a bikini. 5 wipes is leeches. Lots and lots of leeches.
Or the fat guy taking his pants off.
That being said, Big D, we'll start with Eugene. I think we started with Big D last time. How many wipes do you give this movie?
All right, guys. So I was trying to figure out, when you get to the depths of this bad, you don't know what to compare it to. How the hell, what is the benchmark for this bad? And so all I could think of is, let's go with our worst score that we have, which is Willow. And let's kind of gauge from there. And I thought the movies couldn't get any worse than Willow. Which Willow made very little sense. It squandered great opportunity. They had, everything from a known name as a director to an all-star cast to the budget. Speed 2 came very, very close. It lacked the whimsy or the charm that can make a bad movie fun. Sometimes we could forgive, shitty parts of movies because they're just so fun. I think Spaceball is a good example where you could say, oh, that looked a little cheesy or whatever, but we go, no, it's a fun movie. Don't worry about the cheese. But Speed 2 didn't have that whimsy, didn't have that charm, and it managed to make huge special effects, absolutely tedious. So you're sitting there and you're going, oh, here's the big scene where the thing blows up or the boat crashes or whatever. This stuntman's going to pull something off. But I was just bored the whole time. And so I wanted to give it 5 wipes. Then I remembered it didn't have the brownies. And the brownies in Willow are still the worst thing I've seen on film. They make me angry every time I see them. And Sandra Bullock, as annoying as she was not the brownies. So for me, that's 4.5 wipes.
All right, hold on. Can I just ask you something? What's it going to take to be a 5-wipe movie for you? You've been doing this podcast now almost 2 years. You've yet to give a movie 5 wipes. I just don't understand, what is a 5-wipe movie in your mind?
I think a 5-wipe movie to me would have to be that I watched the entire thing and didn't find one moment of it where I at least chuckled, had an interesting thought, or something just makes me actively hate it. And I don't think that we've hit that point yet, but there's something is out there. This was painful, but it wasn't lethal.
All right. Big D.
So this is a tough one. Part of being a thriller is you have to have suspense. You have to care about what's going to go on. No one in this movie really dies that we cared about. In Die Hard, when they shoot Ellis, we know anyone could die at any point. In this, I didn't care about the characters. Most of them were dicks. They were unlikable. It was unfunny. The action was drawn out. And in the end, I felt unfulfilled. It was a sad 2 hours. I still think Willow, I would rather watch that than this, but they're both pretty damn close. There's nothing redeeming about this movie. It clearly deserved its 3% Rotten Tomato. I'm giving this thing a 5. Stay far away from this. If it's on in the background in like a club with no music or something, it might seem like a good movie and a good idea to watch it, but trust me, don't do it.
Yeah, say if you're like on a cruise ship and they just had this on, playing, in the background of one of the clubs.
Let me ask you guys this though, because for part of this movie, I watched it at double speed, and that actually made it a little bit better. What do you think you would like it better if it was twice as fast? So it was only an hour long and everything was done quickly.
Yes.
I don't think you'd miss anything. There was no character development.
So that's that's my recommendation to the viewers and listeners at home. If you haven't watched it yet, just watch it at double speed. You'll be fine. Or don't watch it at all.
Yeah. I wholeheartedly, I had to look back at the movies that I've given 5 wipes to, and I have to sit back from myself and I have to apologize to Marty from Great Northern Radio for giving Highlander a 5-wipe rating, because Highlander is a far superior movie than Speed 2. I have to apologize for all the fans of Porky's. What can be said about this movie? I feel like we need to add another layer to this Shat scale, because this is the worst piece of shit we've ever watched. Like, this is worse than Porky's. It's worse than Time Cop. It's worse than Willow. It's worse than Highlander. It's worse than 1973's Westworld. It's worse than Predator 2. It's worse than Blade Runner. All versions of Blade Runner. It doesn't matter which one you're watching. This is truly a career killer. I don't understand how Sandra Bullock still has one. But it definitely did kill Jason Patric. So for that, I guess I'm okay. Willem Dafoe. Yeah, I don't know. I think he truly did have copper poisoning in this movie. Which, I'm glad he committed to the role. So
I've never heard Raj at a loss for words. This is the first.
I hated this movie. I need to go wash my eyes out with bleach. This is a 5-wipe movie. I never want to hear about it ever again. That being said, if we were to add up all the scores, Gene, what does that give us? 4.5, 5, and 5.
Raj, that gives us a painful average of 4.83 wipes.
And where does that set it on the list of movies that we've done?
I did not think it was possible. We are now tied at dead last with Willow. It is worse than Predator 2. So for a category of worst sequels, it out-sequeled Predator 2. So this is now tied for the last.
I will say that I would rather watch Predator 2 or Willow over this. Makes Predator 2 it makes me want to watch Predator 2.
Predator 2 at least had the voodoo gang.
Yeah.
Colombian sex chick.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh God, Colombian sex chick.
But Gene, in the end, it's your fault.
Yeah, I feel like before we watch any other movies, we have to watch Predator 2 or Willow, just because it's like the bends. Like if we come up from this depth too quickly, we're just gonna flop around on a deck and die. Like we have to very slowly come out of this.
I'm pretty sure this killed Jan de Bont's career, right? Jan de Bont also did Twister, which you guys loved.
We loved it. What are you talking about?
He also did the sequel to Tomb Raider, which I think was his last movie. But this is a perfect case of stay in your lane. Jan de Bont was a director of photography on fantastic movies like Cujo, and a handful of others that are just absolutely fantastic. But this is just pure trash, hot garbage on the open seas. What do we do next after this, guys? Shout outs? What's a shout out?
Roger, shout out is our way of saying thank you for listening to Shat The Movies and visiting the website. This week, we have a very, very special one that was written in to us that means a lot to us. And Big D, you want to tell us about it?
Yeah, so Jay Bones has been listening to us since the beginning. I think he wrote one of the first iTunes reviews. So he wrote into us and he said, I want to let you guys know that a buddy of mine just had a brain tumor removed and is recovering. Both eyes went out and his vision is slowly coming back after multiple surgeries. I put him on to you guys and he's listened to every episode, helps him get through the day. Keep up the good work. And his friend's name is Jason from Greece and he lives in Orlando. And I got to tell you, when this came in, I got a bit misty-eyed.
Yeah, I was actually running a little bit late. I have some renovations going on in the house, and I was trying to get into the office, and I take care of my dog, and I was running a little late, and you sent this over, and I actually had to stop everything I was doing, and it really hit me emotionally, and I thought, that again, it's connecting with the listenership in ways I never thought imaginable, and that means the world to me to know that someone is out there. I mean, we are happy that anybody's even listening, but for it to actually be listening and to listening to multiple episodes and really enjoying it and brightening somebody's day, that's fantastic.
Gene, I completely agree. When we started this, we hoped to have a few listeners, but the relationship and the friendships we built, and it blows me away to think that people incorporate us into their daily lives. When people say, you helped me get through the commute to work, or how excited people are when we release stuff, it means a lot to us. Jason, we hope you're doing better, and we appreciate you listening to us. It really makes it all worth it.
Oh, yeah. Also, Jason, Carrie Gross also read this, and she sends her love as well. She said that she hopes you're on the mend and that you're feeling better.
If you don't want to send us a shout out, but you do want to send us a voicemail, our voicemail line is still open, 914-719-SHAT, 914-719-SHAT. What movie are we doing next, Big D?
So next week is the last time that we had 4 movies as a category. It was Best of Jeff Bridges. The options were Tucker, The Man in His Dream, Starman, The Fisher King, and The Big Lebowski. So listen to the end for the trailer of what we're going to play, but I think we can all take a wild guess what it might be. And this was the single biggest domination at almost 90% of the vote.
Yeah, Tron's the winner. That concludes this week's episode of Shat the Movies. Be sure to follow us on social media and share with a friend. We're everywhere, including Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram. Just follow @Shat the Movies. Our Facebook page is Shat the Movies Podcast. Our website is shatthemovies.com. Our email is hosts@shatthemovies.com. We're everywhere fine podcasts can be found. Be sure to subscribe, and if you stop by, leave a 5-star review. That helps the podcast grow. Also, check out our sister podcast, Westworld, is right around the corner. In fact, we will probably be in the first week of Westworld when you're listening to this. You can find all the information there at shadontv.com. On behalf of my co-hosts, Big D and Gene Lyons, I'm Roger Roper. Be sure to join us next week as we review Tron, or whatever this trailer is. Thank you for listening. Take care. Good night and good luck.
Let me explain something to you. I am not Mr. Lebowski. I'm the dude. You know, that or his dudeness or duder or, El Duderino if you're not into the whole brevity thing.
Are you employed, Mr. Lebowski?
Employed?
Do you like sex, Mr. Lebowski?
Is this your only ID?
You got the wrong guy. I'm the dude.
Your name's Lebowski.
Jeff Lebowski, the other Lebowski, the millionaire.
I received this ransom note this morning.
This is a bummer, man.
They want you to take the money and act as courier.
What do you mean, man? What the hell is this?
My dirty undies, dude. The whites. Let's take that hill! Why should we settle for 20 grand when we can keep the entire million?
I know you're mixed up in all this.
Playing one side against the other in bed with everybody.
Blow on them.
Huh? Fabulous stuff. What?
Who's sitting on $1 million?
We want some money.
Sitting in the trunk of our car.
Where is my damn money?
Say, dude, where is your car?
Who's got your undies, Walter?
This is a very complicated case, Maud. You know, a lot of ins, a lot of outs.
Is this your homework, Larry?
And I would like my undies back.
A lot of strands to keep in my head, man.
Whoa! Hey, careful, man. There's a beverage here, huh?
I like your style, dude.
I have no choice but to tell these bums to do whatever is necessary to recover their money from you.
They were Nazis, dude?
They were nihilists, man. They kept saying they believed in nothing. You figured, oh, here's a loser, you know, a deadbeat.
Well, aren't you?
Well, yeah.
You cannot drag this negative energy into the tournament.
Jeffrey,
Maud?
love me.
That's my robe.
I'm throwing rocks tonight.
It don't matter to Jesus.
This could be a lot more complex. I mean, it's not just, it might not be just such a simple, you know?